G'day, I'm Stephen Spry, and this is episode 1 of an almost vanilla playthrough of my new real-life Camden Heaven map. I'm only using an 8GB M1 MacBook Air, so that's why it's almost vanilla. You can check out the mods that I have available to me on the screen right now, but I'm really only going to be using one of them at the moment. And while we're in the gameplay settings, there are two that you need to adjust. Firstly, pause the game after loading, and second, make sure autosave is turned on, perhaps for every 10 minutes. I don't use the day-night cycle, and I hate the weather in this game, so they're both off as well. So let's get this show on the road. Click New Game, and then find Camden Heaven. Make sure left-hand drive traffic is ticked, of course, because, hey, it's in Australia, mate. And the town's name is Laurelton. And when you're ready, well, click the start button and let's get moving. Okay, glad I'm not loading too many assets or extra mods, eh? Okay, we finally made it. So the first step, make sure the game's paused. That way we're not going to spend any money before we're ready to spend it. Now there's our start square, but the mod that we're using is the 81 tile mod so that we can see the rest of it. So let's find the 81 tiles mod. There it is. Click the button and keep an eye on that frames per second meter. It goes up and down for about 30 odd seconds here while this thing loads. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, and eventually, well, let's have a look at what we can see with the full 81 tiles available to us. And we'll start by heading inland or westward, approximately about 7 kilometres to the main Pacific Highway interchange on the map that's at this little place called Q. Our railway interchange is a couple of k's further on at the historic township of Kendall, and oh look, there's a train. Nice. Power and grid are supplied. There's 4 wind turbines that are included with the base map just to get you going, and a couple more trains. They probably come standard too. Herons Creek was one of the first areas that was settled here, and if you wanted to, you could probably use that as your start square just to try something different. Now when you're making a map for Cities Skylines, oil is one of the things that is nice to have, except there isn't any in this area anywhere. Well, there is now, thanks to the marvels of modern technology. And yes, there is an active quarry at that point, and of course an active piggery too. As you can see, suburban streets are pre-laid for you. These are the ones that have got grass on the footpaths. If you decide not to use them, you could always kill them all and just leave the other tar ones, and you've still got a pretty good map to play with. I've also managed to fudge in a shipping lane coming up the river this far, so that's pretty cool. We're back at Laurelton and about to turn south and head back down the coast. Not much happening down here really. It's essentially all national park or low-lying land or swamp, so you could do what you like with the area, I suppose. But it's probably not the area I'd expand in. I'd be looking more at around Herons Creek to the north, I think. There is some flat land near the southern rail and road connections which could be good for an airport, and of course a nice ore mining area. A better airport site might be this one near the Camden Haven airfield, which is directly opposite the improbable oil resource. And And finally, to end our 81 tile tour of the map, we're heading up the Camden Haven River and back to Kendall. So any development on this map is not going to be concentrated in just 3 or 4 squares, megalopolis style. It's going to be spread out in multiple communities across the map. But meanwhile, back at the start square, let's get this game going by placing a bit of road to unlock all the other roads that are available, and then kill that bit of road because we don't need it anymore. First thing to look at, I suppose, is our budget. And we don't want to be spending any money that we don't have. So the first thing, particularly in these early stages, is to reduce our budget expenditure by 50%. And if you're not using the day-night cycle, you only need to use the top sliders to do that. The next step, set up the electricity. Now lots of maps that you can get these days come pre-wired, so to speak. In fact, this one has an electric network that spreads across the entire map, north to south, east to west, and is fed currently by 4 little wind turbines that generate 24 meg of electricity for you. So that's pretty good to get you started, and has saved you 4 nines of $36,000. Thank you, Stephen. You're welcome, Stephen. So basically, we don't have to worry too much about electricity at this stage. So have a look at water, and I haven't actually supplied you with water, as you can see from the graph at the top left, but what you do have is a network of water pipes and drainage pipes that again extends almost across the entire map. Again, well, I'm making you play 81 tiles, so it's a bit unfair that you would have to pay to lay all of that water pipe. So got it started for you. So the first step, wherever you choose to start building, is to place water pipes in the streets where you need them. And I find it a lot easier to turn snapping off to lay water pipes a little bit easier. Otherwise they go off in all sorts of weird and wonderful directions. So we're just going to start with this top area first. I don't need, well, I didn't think I needed water pipes there, but I did. Okay, water supply. It's a saltwater area, so we can't use the water extractors out of the rivers, so we'll use a water tower instead, hook it up, of course making sure that it's got power or it's placed near a power supply. The sewer outlet, well, let's pollute the Camden Haven River and kill off oyster farming, shall we? No, we won't. In reality, that over there is the sewer plant, but it's a long way away from anything at this stage, and I'll have to run power to it. So I'm going to cheat and do what's called a Poo Lake cheese. And in Cities Skylines, any little water source like that has a water source in it which can fill and or drain. So well, let's whack the sewer outlet here, give it some power and water, and guess what? It won't overflow, hopefully. Well, this one won't, that's for sure. I set it up that way. Okay, what next? Well, now we're ready for zoning, where we tell the computer which parts of the map we want to actually build on, whether we want to build the green for residential land, or the blue for commercial, or the yellow for industry. Now there are 4 brushes you can use. The fill brush fills this entire square. The Marquee Brush allows you to select which squares. The single brush, you can paint 1 square at a time, or the paintbrush paints everything. So right click, of course, on any of those to remove what you've done. So what I'm going to do is use the Marquee Brush to do what I call selective zoning. So I'm not going to fill up every single one of these squares at this stage. I'm going to run around the map, choose different sizes, being very careful about the areas I fill in. So that's my first batch of residential done, and I'm going to wait for a little while before I do any more around there, because that power line's actually going to come out shortly. So we're ready, so click go and let's see what happens. This next section's a couple of minutes long, and normally I don't mind just sitting there watching it, watching these houses come in. It's interesting. It gives me time to draw a breath during the game, but that's pretty boring right now for a video, so I've 4 times to speed it up for you just a wee bit. And we still don't have any people yet, so have a quick look at the power and make sure that it's spreading from one house to the next, or one building to the next, as it's supposed to, because power jumps between buildings in game. And everything looks okay there. Everybody's got power, so let's jump back in and zone a few more residential. Boost our population a little bit more. Now you can keep an eye on the RCI meter at the bottom middle there to work out how much demand the computer thinks it wants. And right now, we need some more blue, which is commercial, and orange, or yellow, make up your mind, which is industrial. So let's get onto that firstly, with commercial. And notice the split in the zoning here, so you've got to be very careful which boxes that you actually select in that corner. The other one, well, commercial, we can go 4x4, it's main road. This one's meant to be a big hardware store, so it better be 4x4. Yep. But not there. No. Sorry. Other way. Skinny little building in between. I remember that now. And a little bit more 3x4, 3x4 commercial up the side street. That should be more than enough for now. Time to whack in some industry. Only this time around, I'm using basically a 3x3 layout for the industry. And you'll see why once these buildings spawn, and we can get to have a closer look at them. Because you're going to get all sorts of different buildings, depending on which squares you fill in there, and which buildings spawn in those spaces. Well, it's been a while. Our population's grown to 120, and oh wait, I was going to say we haven't seen anybody yet, but look, we do have people, and the first cab off the rank is Ashland Cooper, an unemployed senior, and there's a whole heap of cars coming in behind Ashland. Welcome to Laurelton, friends. Enjoy your new home. Let's just watch all these guys come in and take up residence. And I know that seemed like a long time before they got there, but that might be because we're 7k off the highway. Maybe. There's 24 or 5 cars, I think, that are coming in. I've lost count almost. It's a bit hard to see. And the really good thing is, now that we've got real people coming in, we actually are earning money. Yes. Thank goodness for that. Anyway, these guys, well, they're going to need some more jobs, so I need to zone a little bit more industry for them. Besides, there's quite a bit of demand for it showing on the meter there at the moment. Now, one thing you might want to consider, particularly if you're doing a rural or a country build, is to tick the historical button on all your commercial and industrial buildings. It'll stop them levelling up to the point where you end up with 5 or 6 story buildings, which are totally inappropriate in a small country town. I mean, it might be fine in the megalopolis play, but we're not doing that one, and you can see why I chose that size. Look, that's a nice little suburban industrial park setting there, isn't it? Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Make that fella historical, and yeah, okay. He needs water, and I think he needs water too. I think they both needed water for a while, so let's zap a few water lines in here and keep them happy. And the next few residents that we bring in as well. Right, okay, that's done, so what's next? Have a look around. Not bad. What do we got to do? We've got to get 380. That's our target for this one. Become a little hamlet. And we're, what, 150, so we're not even halfway. Okay, we've got a fair way to go then, haven't we? Okay, time for a bit more residential. Let's go. Well, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to get rid of some of these ugly transmission towers that aren't appropriate in the middle of a city, so that's the job now, is to press B for the bulldozer and zoom in and take these fellas out without taking out the road, Stephen, without taking out the road. So you've also ruined the zoning there, I hope you know. Never mind, don't worry, just replace the road, should be right. And go back and get rid of the rest of those towers, buddy. And over on the western side, well, I've got to put one tower in just to make sure everything stays powered, and then I can delete the others. And unpause it, get the game running again, and I've just noticed up the top left that our budget needs adjusting. So let's go in and scroll it up using the mouse wheel. Scroll this up to change the budget up to what, about 65%? It should do. Have another little look. Not at that one. No. That one. Thank you. And yeah, we've got plenty of power now to match the demand. Water-wise, same condition, so that's pretty good. You should be keeping an eye on these things quite often during the game because, well, especially at the start of the game when you're playing with the budgets. But right now, well, you guessed it, more zoning, yay. A little bit of mixed residential and commercial zoning there as we spread closer to where the town really is. And yeah, take a look. That's not looking too bad. Not looking too bad at all. And oh, have a look at this. Over on the bridge, cars coming in from the eastern side. That's nice. Good. That means that connection up at Bonny Hills is working. Thank goodness. And oh, look at that. Little Hamlet, my little piggy. 380. We've got some things to do now. We're going to make life just a tad more interesting. So that's it. Cool. So where are we? We're $95,000 in the bank. Thank you very much. We're earning around about $1,300 a week. Cool. 385 people. Lovely. Pretty good for the first episode. And we've still got quite a bit of residential spots still waiting to be filled. Lovely. Everything's looking good. Of course, for those of you keeping track of it, our mod count so far is, well, I told you it's almost vanilla. There's only one mod I've used so far, and that's the 81 tiles one. Let's see if it stays that way. But right now, we'll save this game so we can continue. As you can see, I've been doing it a few times and tried it, tested and double tested quite a few times, and as I save it under the wrong name, because it's meant to be Little Hamlet, dumbass, that's it for now. Glad you could join me, and please come back for episode 2 as we progress to Worthy Village. I'm Stephen Spry. Hooroo!